If you focus on goal setting, let's say you have a chart that looks at the goals that you set, okay? You basically have time versus money.
All right, good morning, you guys, and welcome to our Masters series. We are so excited to have you. I know that we still have people logging in as well as people joining us live broadcasts from our Facebook pages, and we just want to thank you all for joining us today. It has certainly been a wild couple of weeks here in Oregon. We know that many of you have been giving lots of time and energy and love and support to your families, your clients, and your communities as we continue to navigate the fires and the air condition qualities, as well as continue to support our communities through this cleanup and aftermath of such a catastrophic event. As many of you know, we have continued our efforts in collecting funds, food, supplies, gift cards to support those families in need. We will continue to do that. Check our Venmo or our Cash app if you have not yet donated and want to contribute to those. We have come together as a family, and we're very happy to see that all of our agents are safe, they're accounted for, and we have been there to help support them every step of the way. We also know that many of you are spending this morning taking care of your family and communities, so we will be recording and distributing this broadcast so that you can check back in and watch it again. That value while you are focusing on the most important things in your life and in your world. So before we get started, of course, many of you have been on our master series before. Our leaders a couple of years ago decided what was the one thing we could do to add the most amount of value to our agents, and that master series was born. So every month we welcome an incredible master, and we are very excited for today's master. But before we get started, you know we do not do this alone. As usual, we have our incredible power partners that are with us every step of the way, our friends, our business growth partners. I'd like to welcome to the call, of course, Fidelity National Home Warranty. Miss Betty Carter, are you with us?
I am with you. So good morning, everybody. We are going to keep it super simple for you today. There's a lot going on. First, what I'd like to do is just, again, introduce our team. We have with us today Kevin Wyans, who covers our East Portland, Eugene, and parts of the Willamette Valley. We have Andrea Croft. Oh, did you wave, Kevin? Give us a wave. Okay, we have with us Andrea Crawford, who covers West Portland, Salem, Bend, and the Willamette Valley. Lisa Justison, who covers Southern Oregon, couldn't be with us here today, but she's certainly here with us in spirit. So real quick, along with your theme of business planning, we just want to remind you to make sure that you make home warranty a part of your transaction checklist and your discussion with both your sellers and your buyers. When a warranty is agreed upon, make sure that it's in writing and specific as to what coverage and pricing is desired. We receive calls daily where someone forgot to order the warranty, it wasn't paid for, they left an option off, and having the information in writing at the beginning of the transaction is key in showing intent. Sometimes we get calls 6 months into a plan, and we're able to help you out when we're able to show intent. And most of all, remember that you have an amazing team to support you. In addition to helping you navigate through any home warranty needs, all of them are approved instructors and offer a variety of clock hour classes for your educational needs. And we'll keep Leslie in the loop of any classes that we have coming up so she can let you know about them. Thank you for having us here today, for your support, for your business, and be sure to make Fidelity Home Warranty and our team a part of your 2021 planning. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Betty. So without any further ado, we are going to welcome to the call. It is, gosh, almost October, and what a year it has been. So we are now casting our vision forward to looking at 2021. So we're going to welcome today's Master Joseph Klosik. He has been licensed since 2001. He has not only been a top producer and run a team as a listing specialist and CFO, he served as a team leader for 6 years, an operating principal. He has been a coach, and of course in 2018 he was accepted into the Keller Williams Realty's International Masters faculty, and his biggest passion is teaching and coaching agents, which has led him to travel all over the country, and in this case live Zoom all over the country. So welcome to the call, and to walk us through business planning with our new MREA models, Joseph Klosik. Take it away.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate that, Leslie. It is an honor to be here. And I'm very excited because we do have the brand new material from the Business Planning Clinic, hot off the presses. Literally, we got the final version on Monday. So super excited to have that. We have a different format today. So I'm gonna, the pace is probably gonna be pretty rapid. So, but obviously if you have any questions, throw them in the chat box. I'll keep an eye on that as much as I can. And then like Leslie said, this will be recorded and sent out. Just a little bit about me and why I'm here. In addition to what Leslie said, one of the things that I didn't share with them is at one point I did serve as a expansion and sales director for a large team in the Southeast. And I spent that time coaching agents on the material that we're going to talk about today. And so I'm excited about that because whoever's joining us today, whether or not you are a rainmaker running a big team, whether or not you are a individual agent, whether or not you're an individual agent on a team, and even if you're not with KW, this will apply to you. But I also want to make sure that I understand that help you understand that today what we're doing in the business planning is we're setting guidelines, right? These are going to be the guidelines that we have for you to run your business. And then this will be an overview. We will do a little bit of an exercise that you can work on today. And then the plan would be your homework, not to scare everyone off. I'm going to start to see the participant list go down. Your homework would be to then tailor it to your business because everyone's business is going to run a little bit differently. So very excited about that. Also, I'd be remiss to not say that we in the Carolinas have been praying for you guys with the wildfires. We also have been setting up the funds to send your way. We've got a little busy this week with some hurricanes. So it definitely seems like this is a good time of year to start focusing on 2021. I don't know about most of you, and I'm a positive person. I believe in the mindset, and I'm going to tell you there were a lot of blessings that came from 2020. And I'm ready for 2021. So what I want to happen today is for you to regroup, recalibrate, and just start to focus on what life looks like in 2021. I appreciate those of you that have been here. I definitely understand the emotional toll that you're going through with having a disaster like you are. And plus on top of everything else, it's just one thing after the other. So hopefully today, this will be a little bit of a refresher for you, kind of a little vacation for you to just kind of refocus and recalibrate. So let me jump into sharing my screen here. Make sure I pull up everything that I have. Sorry, we had a little technical difficulty that decided to get me out of here really quickly. Hold on one second. All right, so I'm gonna jump back in. This got deleted out, so I apologize for that. I'm gonna jump back in and start sharing my screen. Perfect. Got a little confused there. Sorry about that. So we're going to be talking about business planning today. And specifically what we're going to talk about is we're going to be talking about the economic model. And the reason that this is such an important part for you in your business is this is really going to set the standard of what your business looks like, particularly the activities that go in your business. Right? Now, understand that all of the things that we do, all of the models and everything that we have on here do come straight from the MREA. I know I've got screen share, but if you look down in the corner, the red book here. And where it's new materials, new content, the materials are pretty much the same as far as the processes and everything that you do. Okay, so from the economic model, we're going to just jump to this. And you're not going to have a lot on your page today, right? This is really more for you to follow along and then come back and revisit. But in the economics model standpoint, what we're going to talk about is how to net the income that you want to make. Now, the model that we show today is going to be based on netting $1 million. Let me be clear, that may not be the goal for all of you, and that's fine. The important part today is for you to understand. Let me come back out. I always stop screen sharing when I really want to make sure I'm making a point. The purpose of today is not for us to talk you into how much money that you should make or that you need to make. The purpose is for you to get a grasp of what it takes to make the most amount of money that you need to fund your life and your business, right? So when I reference the side of things, which is the millionaire models and everything like that, that's not a subliminal mind trick that we're trying to get you. Now, I'd love for you all to do that. I'd love for you all to net $1 million if that is what you want to do. But the reason that we do this, let me jump script a little bit. The reason that we do this is because when you focus on the bigger models, this is in the book, talks about the millionaire real estate agents focuses on big models and big goals. And here's why you do that. So if you look at goal setting, and hopefully you'll be able to see this well, and zoom in on it, and I will write big. If you focus on goal setting, let's say you have a chart that looks at the goals that you've set, okay? And you basically have time versus money. And you set your goals to do 10 million in sales. So you set your goals for 10 million, which also set your activities for 10 million. Fast forward to the end of 2021, you ask yourself the question, what is the reality that I'm actually going to hit those goals? If you set a plan in place, and let's just throw some up in the chat bar if you can, what is the reality that you're going to hit that goal, or any part of that goal or a portion of it? Let's see if I get any responses on it. Oh, it's going to be a quiet crowd. They're like, we didn't know it was participation. We were just here to listen. Well, what we find out is a lot. Quiet.
Yeah. Can you repeat the question, Joseph?
Yeah. So the question is if you set the goal for 10 million in volume, okay, or 10 million or whatever it may be, and you put in actions for that 10 million, what are the chances going to be that you would hit the 10 million? I had a couple people say if they set it for 10 million, you'd be discouraged. Now that's interesting. Would you be discouraged because it's too small, or would you be discouraged because it's overwhelming? Man, I'd love to hear that. That's a great point. I need to clarify. You got a smart group here. Overwhelming. Okay, great. So this is going to apply to you. This is perfect. All right. Ooh, this depends on whether you believe it's possible or not. Okay. We're going to call an audible again. I want everybody to get out a blank piece of paper. I want you to get out a blank piece of paper to write on. I love that you said that. I love that you said that. Nicole, you are the teacher's pet right now, okay? It says we're gonna call an audible on this. If you've ever read anything by Jim Rohn, you've been blessed. Jim Rohn is an amazing, he was a business philosopher, and he was like the mentors of the Tony Robbins and the Zig Ziglars. He has a 4-step process, and I'm running a risk here throwing this in here, but this is super important, and Nicole brought up a great point. There's a 4-step process, and I've kind of tailored it to us as real estate agents. There's a 4-step process that we all have to go through in order to attain a goal, okay? And what Jim says is, and what we titled it, he calls it turning nothing into something. I've changed it to say, how do you turn your goals into reality? So on your blank piece of paper, I want you to write this. How do you turn your goal, just write goal, to reality? Okay? And the 4-step process that I'm gonna go overview today, we're gonna get through steps 1 and 2, and then steps 3 and 4, you're gonna have to do on your own. But step 1, which is what we're doing right now, is to imagine the possibilities. Okay, so step 1 is imagine the possibilities. If you're setting goals and you want to attain them, your first step is to imagine the possibilities. That's what we do in business planning, right? We go out and we set our goals, from our financial goals to our dreams, to our hobbies, to everything we want to do. We have to imagine the possibilities. Step number 2 is where probably, if you've ever had a year where you haven't hit your goal, it's more than likely from step number 2. And after you imagine the possibilities, you then have to do step 2, which is believe the possibilities are possible for you. See, I think what happens is you've got, and I'm not picking on Nicole or on Nan, but they spoke up, and I so appreciate that they did, is you've got situations where they imagine the possibilities, 10 million, right? They're not sure they believe the possibilities are possible for them. And it's not just those two, I can assure you. This is the #1 reason that agents don't hit their goals. And it's probably the driving factor of why a lot of agents aren't fully satisfied in their business, is they don't ever truly believe that they can hit those goals. They see these big teams, or they see these big agents, and they see these people from across the country, and they're like, man, maybe for them. You've got to get to number 2, which is to believe the possibilities are possible for you. Okay, so #1, imagine the possibilities. Number 2, believe the possibilities are possible for you. Numbers 3 and 4 aren't as philosophical, and they're not as fun and lovey-dovey. Number 3 is you have to go to work and make it happen. You have to imagine the possibilities. You go to the business planning clinic, you get your possibilities imagined, you put your plan in place to believe the possibilities are possible for you, and then you have to go to work and make it happen. There is no Zoom call in this world that is going to do that for you, right? You have to go out and make it happen. And by the time you leave here in 33 minutes, when you leave here, you're going to know exactly what that looks like. And I promise you, when you see it, you're going to believe those possibilities are possible for you. And then number 4, is you have to embrace the accountability. Embrace accountability, everyone's favorite, that is needed for your goals. So you have to embrace the accountability that is needed for your goals. Whose goals? Yours. This goes back to what I said earlier. I don't care if your goal is to sell 10 homes a year or 100 homes a year. They're your goals, and there is a level of accountability that is needed to hit your goals. Okay? So let's jump back into what I was saying earlier with the models and systems. And then you can put in any number here. But what happens, and we'll go back to the numbers, a lot of people said 80%. Chris made a great point. 0% if you only set the goal. That's absolutely right. The thing is when you set the goal and you go into business planning, you set the models and systems to hit the goal. I got some 80%. I think I saw somebody said 60%. I think it's a good chance, maybe 70 to 80% chance that you'll hit that goal. So what if our goal was 10 million, but we put into place systems and models for a goal of 20 million? And again, make these your numbers. If your goal could be 5 million, put in systems and models for 10, whatever it may be. The reason we talk about these models at a high level is not to just make you think, not to just make you see what other people are doing, but for you to think on the level that'll help you get there. So if I'm setting a goal for 10, but I put in systems and models for a goal of 20, now what are the chances I'm going to hit my goal of 10? They're high, right? They're super high. So that's why when we think about this, and I'll jump back into the material now, that's why when we think about setting these goals to net $1 million, the purpose of that is to help with you in getting your goals hit, even though you may not be doing the activities that you realize you needed to do to hit your goal, if that makes sense. All right, so let's go back to the screen share. I think I'm sharing the right one. Let me pull this back up. All right, desktop 2, here we go. All right, so what we're gonna chat about today And we're going to kind of fly through. And the important part is that you sit down and you adjust this to your business. So we're going to talk about a net income goal. So if you don't have it today, one of the first things that you need to do is, what do I want to net from my real estate business in order for me to pay my bills at home, to accomplish any of the dreams that I have, to send my kids to college, to take the vacation that I want, to do whatever I want to do? What do I need to bring home out of my business? Don't worry about business expenses. We're going to chat about that today. But what do I need to bring from my business, or net from my business? And that is what we call your net income goal. Okay. Then from that, we have to get a number that will help us determine what activities we need to do to hit those goals. So from that, we move to this total GCI, the gross commission income. Now, the reason this jumped up is because there are models that we follow that are best practices. And the best practices say is that the majority of agents net a healthy income percentage of about 40% from their GCI. Now, stay with me. As I said before, we're imagining the possibilities. I'll get you to believing the possibilities are possible for you. Don't get ahead. Don't start tuning out because you see these numbers and you think they're too big. This is conceptual. We're going to come back and do the numbers specifically for you. So you have a total GCI number here. And then from that, you will back out what we call operating expenses. This is going to be the money you spend to run your business, as well as cost of sale. Okay. And then from there, and I'm not going to get too bogged down right now, from there, we're going to break down the average commission amount, how many units you need to sell to hit it, and then how you want that broken down from buyers and sellers. Now, how you want that broken down from buyers and sellers, not how I want it, not how you think it's going to be. It's whatever you set your plan on. At the end of the day, we're going to come up with the number of appointments you need to go on in order for this to happen. Okay, so let's jump into this. So why are we doing this? What is so important about kind of setting it up this way? Well, the reason that we do it is the economic model basically does it's kind of the outline of how your performance, your investment of time, your cost of sale, and your operating expenses affect your outcome, right? Your performance is going to be things that are directly related to you. Your behavior, your skill level, these are all things that you have pretty much full control over. The resources that you have, the leads, the appointments, the talent, the systems, the tools, right? Then you have your investment, which is your time, which is going to be the most valuable part of your investment. And then you have the investments of your cost of sale, as well as your operating expenses. And what you do is we have those that come together to get you your GCI and then ultimately your net income, which is the part that obviously we're going to be most focused on because that's what drives our business, probably drives your big why, probably drives the most important things for you in your life. Okay, so let's break down quickly the elements of an economic model. So we have four main elements of an economic model. The first is your gross commission income, which we talked about. The next are your operating expenses. And then you have your cost of sale, and then your net income, the money that you put in your pocket. Now, your gross commission income, that's the income that is on the settlement statement. That's the closed income that comes from the transaction. This does not include your split. If you're with Keller Williams, if you're on a team, or if you're another brokerage, none of that's factored in here. It is the total amount that's commission that's paid to you to your company on the settlement statement. Then we have operating expenses. And like I said earlier, operating expenses are money that you spend to run your business, getting your licensing, your lead generation, your marketing, whatever it may be. Roughly, we're seeing agents that are performing at a very top level have an operating expense of about 30%, okay, of their total GCI. Then we have what's called our cost of sale. This is the one that tends to confuse some people a little bit. But it's actually pretty simple. It's a cost that only happens when there's a sale. And I don't mean that to sound smug. It just is, that is what it is. If there is no sale, then there is not a cost from it. So some things that will fall in cost of sale would be, first, your splits with your brokerage, right? Second would be your splits with your team. If you're a rainmaker, your cost of sale will be what your buyer's agent is making or your listing specialist is making, assuming it's paid from a commission and not a salary. If you're an agent on a team, your cost of sale will be what your split is with your rainmaker or your team leader or whatever you call them. And if you're an individual agent, it will be, like I said, what you're paying your brokerage. Now that could also include referral fees. That would also include if you're in any sort of coaching program, you have a split that you pay with you have with your productivity coach and everything from there. So you back out the operating expenses, you back out the cost of sale, and you get your net income of 40%. Okay? So I've gone into numbers already, and we're only 20 minutes into it. Give me some thoughts, anything you have in the box before I move on to the next slide. Because I know I'm throwing a lot at you in a short period of time. I want to make sure that so far we're on the same page and see if we have any questions. And there are no stupid questions. If you have one, I promise you at least 10 other people do. Okay, so awesome. So Nan asked the question, would a transaction coordinator fee be cost of sale or an operating cost? So this is the official Red Book stance on this is that it would actually be an operating cost. However, it is paid like a cost of sale because if I'm assuming you're referring to, you have a transaction coordinator who only gets paid when closed. It's technically a cost of sale and by definition, but you would file it under operating costs because for me, I want to see what that's costing me on the admin side as I review my books. Great question though, great question. All right, what else? Let's see. How about some of the listing marketing costs, things like that you can incur during the sale doesn't close? Okay, so great question. So listing marketing costs, your signage, anything you're doing for your listing, that would be under marketing costs. So it would be an operating expense cost because you have those expenses regardless of whether or not you have a sale. Those are always fun, aren't they? You spend all that money on a listing and it doesn't close. That's a cost of doing business though. That's why, again, that's why you have to look at these margins because we operate as if 100% of everything that we do comes to a closing, which is not always the case. Great questions. I love it. Anybody else have any questions they want to throw in? Owner salary and taxes. Okay, so taxes are not taken into consideration in the economic model. That would be that you take that from your net income prior to your personal, because this is assuming all the expenses that you have for your business. And then owner salary. So I don't want to get too bogged down in the weeds. We're getting into the budget model. However, your owner salary is actually not booked as an operating expense until you actually have an operational role. So if you're an individual that is running a team or you have your business, but you're still in sales and doing everything there, your salary is actually going to be out of owner dividends. So your owner salary does not show up in the budget model until you get to about a fourth level in the organizational model. Yeah, so Chris definitely makes a great point here, clarifies on there. The reason why it shows up as cost of sales, you only pay when it closes. However, many will have a transaction coordinator and that salary is an expense. Absolutely. It is an expense for the very reason is you want to see where your expenses are on that. And then again, clarified on there, MREA 1 owner salary would be below the line. It's not in the budget model. We may see show up in MREA 2. So far on this one, it's still showing it as what we call below the line expense. What that means is basically an expense that comes out after the net income is calculated. So my owner salary would show up from that net income. Great questions. And Chris, thank you so much for clarifications. Anybody else? Awesome. So let's jump back to it. All right, so what I'm going to do now, and again, this is normally if we were in the physical classroom, I would have everyone paper bag, or actually I'd have you all stand up and raise your right hand and swear not to freak out. And then I give you paper bags to breathe into because we do tend to get into some math and talking about cash flow. I'm going to not get too bogged down because again, I want you to go through the exercise for your own, but just bear with me. And as you've seen, we're able to manage the questions pretty well. So don't hesitate to throw them in there because I want to make sure that we cover them for you. So the cash flow of the economic model. Basically, this is a breakdown as to what we just saw in the last couple of slides. You have your total GCI at the top, which is the money that you brought in, and then that's going to be split. You're going to have GCI that comes from your listing sales, as it shows on the left-hand side, and you're going to have your GCI that comes from the buyer sales on the right-hand side. Your listing cost of sale, this too is being updated in MREA 2. The listing cost of sale, they're saying is at about this 125, which is at about 10%. Your buyer cost of sale is at 625, which is obviously going to be higher. It's closer to that almost 50%, right at the 50% side, which is why they balance out at the 30% where you see the total cost of sales of 750. Now, let me ask you, just as a fun pop quiz, why is it that you would say that that the listing cost of sale is so much lower than the buyer cost of sale? Don't hesitate to answer. If just throw it out there. If you're wrong, there's no judgment. I'm just curious to see, kind of get a finger on the pulse. Why is it your buyer cost of sale will be so much higher than your listing cost of sale? Question was, so the listing cost of sale was 125,000, about 10%. The buyer cost of sale was about 50%. So we got some answers on here. The time spent on there, buyer agent split. Okay, anything else? Buyer pays commission. Okay, what else? See if we get a couple more on there. These are all good. So there's two reasons that this comes into play. Number one is, and this is really not as much as an effect as it used to, is number one is the listing in a traditional team, when you would bring on a listing agent to run the team, they were not paid the same as a buyer's agent was. They actually were paid closer to about a 10% split that they would get because they were very, very highly leveraged, right? So that's one reason you see it so much lower. You are starting to see that we're starting to see that go up a little bit, but a lot of teams are differently. The other one is, and the main one is it takes more buyer's agents to run the buyer side of the business than it does take listing agents to run the listing side of the business. And that's really kind of the biggest thing there. And this is why we say from the beginning that listings are the gifts from the real estate gods, is because if you're running a business that's doing 300 transactions a year, you're going to need substantially more buyer's agents on the buyer side to handle the 150 buyers than you are the listing agents. You're going to need a fraction of the listing agents to handle 150 listings. Okay, so a little pop quiz, some fun facts for you as to why the math ends up being that way. All right, so let's jump back up so I can continue to see. All right, the other thing is we need to focus on the drivers of the economic model so we understand what we need to be focused on. Now that we kind of understand the 30,000 foot level of the economic model, we then look at the drivers of the certain parts of the economic model, and there are basically three main drivers, and those are going to be your conversion rates. The first one being the number of leads you get to appointments, the appointments you get to signed agreements, and then the signed agreements that you get to closing. Now, the ones that we're going to focus on today are shown here on the slide, and we're going to focus on what your conversion rate from your appointment to your actual seller, to your listing taken, either buyer or seller, and then when you take a client, what percentage of them actually close. All right, now here's where I always get some fun feedback, because you immediately see these conversion rates and you think to yourself, no way, I can convert higher than 75%. When I go on a listing appointment, I get 100% of the listings. When I go on a buyer appointment, I get 100% of the buyers. I will concede that you may have a higher conversion rate. And we're screen sharing, remember, full video, it means it's a serious point. I will concede that you may have a higher conversion rate than what you see on the screen. However, unless you've been actively tracking your listing appointments to listings taken, your buyer appointments to buyers taken, and then your listing agreements to listings closed, and your buyer agreements to buyer closed, unless you've been tracking those for more than a year and more than 25 transactions, it is best to go with these numbers here. because over time, as you get more numbers in there, this is what we're seeing as Gary is out interviewing with top agents, who, by the way, most teams, all teams are a group of individual agents selling, right? So they're looking at conversion rates of individual agents that happen to be on a team. What we're seeing are these averages here. Now, again, what happens if you set these averages and your reality is actually a higher conversion rate? I'll go ahead and answer it for you. You either make more money in the same amount of time, or you spend the same amount of time to make the same money. You get to choose. But when you're going on and setting your economic model and your business plan, make sure you use these studied, right, researched conversion rates. And then what we do is we take these and we put them into our economic model. Okay. Now, what I want to do is I want to jump from this. Let's see. And I want us to, I'm going to actually share a different part of the screen, because you got uploaded to your intranet is a breakdown of a spreadsheet where you can plug in your numbers. And I'm going to pull that up now because I want to walk through that with you to show you what it'll look like when you do the exercise afterwards. And what that will allow us to do is then bring in questions and make sure you're fully capable and feel comfortable going out and saying, hey, this is what it would look like for me to go set my goals. All right, let me pull up the one that you should
Just
have.
as you're pulling that up, for all of our attendees, please remember that we will be sending out all of the tools and resources and the wrap-up email today. So if you didn't get a chance to download this ahead of time, not to worry, you will have all of this after the event.
Absolutely. And I am more than happy, because here's the deal. This is this topic right here is slated for about 2.5 hours of a 6-hour business planning clinic. So this is a lot we're throwing at you. So don't panic, because most of you will not get it right now. The purpose of this is to give you the overview, and then I'm going to throw my email in here. Obviously, they will be sending it out to you. I am more than happy to answer any questions you have when you get this. So please email me this. I will set up a time and walk you through all this, because this, if you don't get, here's the deal. Lead generation is the most important part of our business. And if you don't get the economic model of your business set up first, you're blindly lead generating into 2021. And I don't know about you, don't tell anybody, and I should probably ask Chris to mute me, and please don't tell Gary. Lead generation is not my favorite part of the business. It's just not. So I want to make sure I have my economic model set up so I can lead generate as efficiently as possible. Otherwise, I'm just having to lead generate and hoping that it works out for me. All right, so that's my secret. Don't get upset with me. All right. So here's what we're going to do. The form that you're going to get is showing up on here. And Leslie, is what you're seeing on there the spreadsheet that I sent to you?
Yep, we can see it.
Great. Awesome. So what you're going to do is you're going to plug these numbers in for yourself. I'm going to give you an example right now. We're going to break these down, and then I'm going to do one last exercise on the whiteboard, and you guys are going to be ready to go out and nail your goals for 2021. Now, remember, these are guidelines, not requirements. So for those of you that are looking at these budget numbers and you're thinking to yourself, holy cow, I'm not going to go out and spend that money. It's not a requirement to spend. It's a guideline to stay in. Okay. So just for fun, let's throw in here $150,000. This is the money I want to make from my real estate team. Let me get the rest of the numbers out of here. These are the numbers that I want to get from my real estate team in order to run my life. Okay, so the first thing you're going to do is you're going to plug the 150 in there. Then what you're going to do, and this is set up a little awkward, so just bear with me a little bit. You can play with the numbers. Then what you're going to do is you're going to calculate what your expenses will be well, this is calculating, sorry, this is calculating for you what your total GCI is going to be based on your expenses that you put in here. So I know that I'm going to say as an expense from a cost of sales standpoint, let's say as I'm an individual agent, I'm going to put in $25,000 as my cost of sale. Sorry, let me hold that out. I'm actually going to be putting in from that, I'm going to be putting in about 75,000 and about 75,000. So what this does is this runs me at a little higher, right? Because I'm an individual agent. This runs me at a little bit higher of a net, which is good. I'm going to be netting more out of this, and that means my gross income doesn't have to be that high. But if I were running it in the model, I would actually have to be up closer to about this 100,000 each, okay? And then this puts me right in the model because I know that my cost of sale and my expenses are right at about that 30% mark, okay? So right now, all I'm doing is getting these first numbers in there. Now, let me jump on this. Let me jump on it. Let me jump on it. Import. This is not a requirement. Don't feel the need to go out. When you're seeing this and you're saying, I have to spend $200,000 to make $150,000. No, you do not have to. You do have your guidelines in place though. Again, we're building our models, big business models, big business activities. If your cost of sale and your expenses end up going down, that's great. Now, if you're on a team or you have a team, your cost of sale is going to be at a minimum of 30%, if not higher. When I was on a team and running the team, my cost of sale was closer to 40, 45%. And the reason was because my split with my team was very high. Well, not very high. It was not what it was an individual agent. It was a 50-50 split. So my cost of sale went up. Did I care? No, because I was getting leverage from the team. My expenses were going down, but I was building the model in place. Okay. Then what you're going to do, jump back into this. So we're going to start plugging in the numbers specifically for your area. Now I know that we have a large range of where you are. So I'm going to get general on this, but it's my understanding that your price points can be anywhere from 300 to 400,000. Some of you can be higher, some of you can be lower. Again, the goal in setting this economic model is not to have the sexiest looking economic model. It's having the one that means the most to you and is the most realistic for you. So average commission amount with that 300 to 400. I don't know what your typical commission percentage is, and I don't want to get into that obviously for Department of Justice things. However, I would say that it's probably good to use an average commission per transaction of about $10,000. Okay. So this right here that you're seeing is the linchpin of your entire business plan. Because then what this did is this took your total GCI that you needed divided by the number of the amount you make per sale as your GCI, gross commission income. That means you have to sell 35 homes in 2021 in order to make $150,000. Okay. So we've set your GCI where it is right now. Now, for those of you that saw 150,000 and then you saw the 350,000 in GCI, you probably thought to yourself, holy cow, that's a lot, right? Question is it possible to sell 35 homes in your market in 2021? Is it possible? The answer is yes. I don't know. I've actually never been to Oregon, but I can tell you that I know, and I know not all of you from there, but the majority of you are. I know it's possible for you to sell 35 homes in that area. Without a doubt it is. You've got to believe that that possibility is possible for you, right? So that's where the next part comes in. So let's be super conservative on these numbers on here, just so we'll give worst case scenario. So at the end, you're going to say to yourself, he was right. I can do this myself. So now I only have myself to blame if I don't hit them. I kid. All right, so now we're going to break it down. we're going to say, what percentage of our business do we want to come from sellers? Do we want to come from sellers? Just to keep it within the model, whoops. Just to keep it within this, I like a balanced business. We still have our sales business that my wife and I run together. We have a small team now that we keep it a balance at about 50-50 on each side. So I'm going to put the 50% in here, and then bam, it's going to calculate based on the conversion rates we talked about earlier. It's going to calculate all the way down to how many appointments you need to go on per month. Per month, right? That's 2.8 appointments for sellers and 3 appointments for buyers. And that's with very conservative conversion rates. Okay, so round up to 3. You can't go on 3/4 of an appointment, right? So what this is telling me, if I want to make a GCI of 350 in net $150,000, then I need to go on 6 appointments a month. 6 appointments a month. Let that sink in for a second. Actually, let me go back really quickly. Let's say you built your business plan. You've built it on very conservative numbers, a very realistic cost of sale, which again, if you're an individual agent, your cost of sale is going to go down. Your expenses are going to not go down as much. If you're on a team, your cost of sale is not going to go down, but your expenses are not going to be as high. I'm telling you, the math works. With the highest percentage that we ever ran our business, and let me just tell you, it wasn't fun. The highest net income we ever ran in our business was at about 60%, and that's a lot of money. I mean, we were making a lot of money. We were miserable. We were running around like crazy because we didn't want to spend any money on leverage. We were running like crazy people. We made a ton of money, and quite honestly, ended up spending most of it on drinking because we were working all the time. I'm just kidding. All right, so let's talk about this. If you sat down for a job interview and they said, I'll pay you $150,000 if you'll go on 6 appointments a month for the next 12 months, would you do it? They're quiet again, Leslie.
I know.
Yeah.
Don't worry.
Yes.
Yeah, there it is. I knew
There
a bunch
we
of yes
go.
coming in.
There we go. All right. So last part, and then we'll fire up for questions. We've got our appointments, right? 6 a month. 6 a month. And this is these are very conservative numbers. Is it possible to go on 6 appointments a month? I'll let you just internally answer. Yes, it's absolutely possible to go on 6 appointments a month. Do you believe it's possible for you to go on 6 appointments a month? Let's chat about that. Some of you are thinking to yourself, I don't know, man. You had me until you said, is it possible for me? Here's what's amazing. 6 appointments a month. Just by typing in yes, who in here, if you're with Keller Williams, have been through the coaching program Bold? Yes. Okay, got some people that are on there. Okay, yes, that got them. They like the simple yes or no questions, Leslie. I'm going to stick with this. All right, so here's what I want to do. I'm going to complete this with one of what I find to be one of the most powerful exercises we do in Bold. And that is what we call the efficiency exercise. So the efficiency exercise is basically in Bold. For those of you who've not been in it, no worries. What we do is we track the number of contacts that we make, the number of conversations we have with people, the number of appointments we go on, right? And then we do what's called the efficiency ratio, where we calculate how efficient we are in our lead generation. And there are 3 types of efficiencies. There's highly efficient, moderately efficient, and low efficient. None of them are wrong. None of them are wrong, okay? It mostly depends on the source of your leads. Highly efficient, if I'm calling FSBOs, that's highly efficient. These are people raising their hand saying, I want to sell the house. Those are highly efficient. Moderately efficient is going to be a cross between past clients, your database, whatever it may be. And then low efficient can be your basic lead generation, cold calling, internet leads, whatever it may be. Okay. So there are 3 types of efficiency. I want to go with mediumly efficient. And what the efficiency ratio says is I have to make X number of contacts in order to go on 1 appointment. All right, so for those of you that are bold grads, and it looks like we have a handful that were in there, does anybody remember what the mediumly efficient, meaning if you're mediumly efficient on the lead generation you choose, does anybody remember how many contacts, conversations, text or face-to-face, just interactions you have to have in order to go on 1 appointment? Anybody remember? I hear, okay, so someone's guessing with 6. It's a little higher than 6. Again, these are just conversations you have. These aren't meetings. These aren't appointments. These are conversations you've had. So, okay, 20, we're getting closer with 20. Now, ones that are putting 20 are just creeping up like the price is right. 50, Frederick. Frederick's winner, chicken dinner. So it's 50 to 1. Take a deep breath. Some of you just about passed out. It is not good. It is not bad. It is simply the reality of it. Now, the reason some of you almost passed out, by the way, just to reiterate, this is studied by actual agents that were doing it. Roughly 50 conversations will get you 1 appointment. Okay? It just is what it is. Can you get more efficient? Sure. Right? This isn't your Mets. This isn't leads. This is different than the 50 to 1 and the 12 to 1. This is conversations to actual appointments you go on. This is the study that we do in Bold. Okay. Diana Kokoska, who was the creator of Bold, she listed 4,000 homes over her time. She at her best was 25 conversations to 1 appointment. Okay. So again, this is conversations, because what is lead generation? Lead generation is having conversations and building relationships. Okay. So it's 50 to 1. Again, let's see, you all got quiet. You went internal because you're freaking out because of 50 to 1. Let me ask you a quick question. If you call 50 people to just see how they're doing, to check in with them, and only 1 of them, you get an appointment to list or sell real estate, why do the other 49 people not want to meet with you about buying or selling real estate? That's a question. If you call 50 people, they might hate tacos, which means you should take them out of your database. But if you talk to 50 people and 49 of them do not meet with you to buy or sell real estate, exactly, you're all right. They are not buying or selling real estate. That's just it. Some of you heard 49 rejections. You heard 49 people hanging up on you. No, 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 no. That is not a rejection, right? When we lead generate, we want 1 of 4 things to happen. We want to get an appointment, right? That's the number 1 thing. Number 2, we want to get a referral. That's a great thing too. Number 3, we want to strengthen the relationship. And number 4, we want to add to our MET group or our database. See, when we think lead generation, we think appointment referral, appointment referral, appointment referral, appointment referral, appointment referral. And if we don't get it, we feel like we're gigantic failures and we don't do it again. Stop doing that. You're not. You're a human being that is going out and building relationships with people. And when you talk to 50 people, the 1 or 2 that are going to be buying or selling are going to be the appointment or the referral. The other 48 or 49 are simply adding to their MET group or building a relationship with them, which is just as important in the long run as the 2 that are going to either sit down with you to buy or sell themselves or give you a referral to someone who is. It's all about the perspective. Okay. So the 50 to 1, do not freak out. Do not freak out. It just is what it is. So let's go back to this. If I know that I need to make 50 contacts to go on 1 appointment, and we all remember from our economic model, right down here at the bottom, we needed to go on 6 appointments. So if I need to go on 6 appointments a month, how many conversations do I need to have? This is not in the materials, this is bonus material. If I need to go on 6 appointments and I know my ratio, 300. 300 conversations. Holy moly, 300, are you kidding me? What's 300 divided by 4? Come on, where were the math people? Everybody liked the 375, exactly. I need to make 75 contacts a week, have 75 conversations a week in order to have 300 over the month, in order to get 6 appointments a month, in order to make in my pocket, after business expenses, after I've paid everyone except for my personal bills, to make $150,000. That's let the silence do the heavy lifting, right? Give me your ahas on that. Typo. Did I do a typo?
You did. Hey, question for you, Joseph. A question came in the chat panel. Is it 300 whether they are in your MET database or unmet database, or would that number change if they were already in your MET database?
So it's a great point. This is all lead generation. Okay, so this is a number that is not talked about a lot, and I don't really understand why. It's not a number that's in the red book, right? A lot of people refer to the 50 to 1, which was the number of leads you need to closings from a haven't met. And then they talked about the 12 to 2 from the METs. This is an activity. So this is 300 conversations, whether or not you are, like you said, a past client, a MET, a FSBO. Now, where that won't change the 300, it will change that 50 to 1 ratio. So if my business is built solely on direct networking and targeting for sale by owners, I'm probably going to be closer to that 30 to 1, 35 to 1. If I'm new to an area and I'm literally having to cold call and do whatever, and I'm choosing circle prospecting, then it may be closer to that 60, 70 to 1. Did that clarify?
Yeah, and I'm going to ask one more clarifying question for you is what constitutes a conversation?
Right. So I love it. We work so hard to make sure that we don't have conversations. And I get it because it's the 1,000-pound phone. A conversation is a two-way conversation, a two-way interaction that does involve them knowing that you're in real estate and are looking to serve clients. Now, the reason I sound vague on that is because if I just met Leslie at a chamber event and she doesn't know me from Adam, my first question to her on a follow-up is not, do you know anybody who's going to buy or sell, right? It's going to be a little bit more on asking questions, getting to know her. And then, oh, by the way, at the end, Leslie, if you happen to know of anyone who's looking to buy a home, sell a home, or invest in real estate, I'd love to help them. You've got to have that interchange though. Calling Leslie and now again, if Leslie's a past client and she's bought or sold 2 or 3 homes with me, I don't probably have to ask her every time, but I'm going to call and she's more than likely going to ask me how business is. Yeah.
Perfect.
Other questions?
Anything else you guys want to drop in the chat box that we want to cover before we let him go?
Listen, just chunk it down. 75 contacts a week, $150,000 in your pocket, or whatever your number was, right? And trust me, as you get more into this, and I know a lot about most of y'all's business models based on my knowledge of that organization, most of you will probably be better, I don't want to say better, higher ratios than 50 to 1. You're probably going to be closer to that 40 to 35 to 1. And then you get to make the choice. Do I still contact 75 a week and make more than 150? Or do I contact 50 a week and make the 150? It's totally up to you. That's the good news.
Awesome. Well, I think we covered all of the questions in the chat box. And then once again, you guys, we will be providing all of these tools, resources, the spreadsheet that we went over today in our wrap-up email. We'll also have the contact information in there for Joseph. I'm super excited. I love, love, love those 4 points of goals to reality. Imagine the possibilities, believe the possibilities are possible for you, go to work and make it happen, and embrace the accountability that is needed to hit the goal. So before we let you off today, you guys, and you start making those goals into reality, I just want to share one more time and give a huge, huge thank you to everybody who has participated in the fire relief around the state of Oregon. A huge thank you to everybody who gave through Xperience Care, through our Venmo and Cash App. A huge thank you to Xperience Giving, who had just transferred $7,000 to our network to help directly aid our agents in our communities. A huge thank you to KW Cares, who has given out over $500,000 of support in the last 30 days. If you are wondering how you can still help, please make sure that you know that the absolute best way to give right now is through cash. It is the fastest way we can get those resources, housing, supplies, and everything to the people. I put up on the screen our QR codes for both the Venmo and Cash App. So if you have not given and want to do so, please do that. A huge, huge, huge thank you to Joseph for walking us through it and preparing us for 2021. That is all we have for today. Have a powerful day, you guys.
Thank you so much. That was a pleasure.